Hello, folks. Welcome back to my channel. This is the world of TV shows, and today we are going to be reviewing the second episode of the first season of Medium called Suspicions and Certainties. The episode originally aired on January 10, 2005. It was directed by Vincent Misiano and written by Glenn Gordon Cairn. In this episode, Allison has some rather sickening dreams about a maniac. And as she basically goes on with her life, she now is working part-time for the district attorney's office in Phoenix, Arizona. And basically, the district attorney who's just hired her is going to ask her for some help in helping him find a jury that would basically seek the death penalty for the maniac, right? So basically, he wants her to help him find, potential suitors that would vote for yes for the death penalty, right? So this is Allison's first assignment, so to speak, in that, in her work. And it's going to be a rather scary process because she's gonna gain some insights as she reads as she leaves through the files of these potential candidates, right, about their circumstances and their situations. So she's gonna try to basically being able to select the right people that would ask for the death penalty, right, for the maximum sentence, the capital punishment for this criminal. Meanwhile, Allison's social skills are put to the test as her husband Joe asks her to accompany him on some kind of a date at a restaurant where basically he's going to meet with some of his colleagues from work and their wives, right? So this is when he's going to be a little worried that Allison might, say something about herself that might not be, suitable, especially given the fact that he's trying to, keep Allison's, secret, so to speak, in check, and he doesn't want her to just, say it, right? To blab, right? So it's going to be a little awkward in some parts when Joe is going to be kind of testing Allison a little bit and her as well. And, there's going to be this awkward kind of tough moment between the couple. And yeah, this is basically most of it, right? And Allison is going to keep on having these dreams. And obviously, this episode is going to be kind of court-centered, where you're going to have basically the judge and the jury and the district attorney. And I believe it's a lot like Law and Order in that aspect, especially those who have watched the show. I haven't really watched it, but it has a similar structure. And this is pretty much how the show kind of works, in its essence. There's a lot of court, a lot of jury thing in this television show because of Allison's work for the district attorney. But yeah, this is basically how it goes, right? So, what are my thoughts on this episode? What are my views? I thought that this episode was pretty good and kind of hard to watch, especially with the whole maniac, this the horrible things that he does. And I will let you find out for yourselves what it is because I don't want to give it away. I don't want to spoil the episode too much, anything. But it's pretty grisly, right? It's pretty gnarly. So this episode has a very dark tone. As I said, some episodes have really darker tones than some others based on the plot and the criminal that are the criminal that is basically being convicted in this case in this episode. So yeah, it has a very dark tone to it. But I like how the humor between Allison and Joe kind of, lightens things a little bit, right? It offers some kind of comic relief, escapism, right? So I thought that was pretty good, right? So in its whole, the episode is so good, right? Maybe as maybe as good as the first one. I'm not entirely sure. I'll get to the rating, God willing, soon, and I'll let you find out for yourselves how much I would rate it. I don't know yet, but yeah, this episode was pretty good, especially with the whole, jury case and jurors and the fact that Allison is trying her level best to find the right people. It's kind of stressful for her, and she works a lot, She works very hard trying to select people for the death who would vote for the death penalty. That is actually pretty interesting, an interesting thing considering the fact that especially back in the day in 2005 with the death penalty, and many people are against it in the United States. Some people are for it for certain criminals that, this is basically, this is something, should it be done, should it not be done, this is kind of, the big you know, kind of, I don't know how to say it, the something that many people might not agree with. Some people might agree with the death penalty, some others might not. So it's a lot like what's happening in the real life, right? In the real world, because this is a reality that is accurate, right? And that some people, have their, personal, personal beliefs that, or, they think a certain way. And should the government have the ability to do this and that? So it's a lot to take in. But for a second episode, I really thought that this episode was really great. And it has some humor with Joe and Allison at the restaurant. But it's also a little difficult as she meets, these people that, she doesn't really, feel, very great at first. I believe she doesn't have a lot of friends, right? So her social skills are really going to be put to the test. But let's look at the episode. So at the characters, sorry. So we have John Meese as Ivan Kinetko. We have Elizabeth Lackey, who plays Kamala, who is one of the wives of Joe's friends, Joe's colleagues, I believe. We have Romy Rosemont, who plays Rosemont, who plays jury consultant. Wallace Langman, who plays Alan, one of the friends of Joe's. Aisha Hines, who plays Maxine Harris. John Wesley, who plays Judge. Bruce Gray, who plays Joe's dad. So yeah, there are a lot of, yes, Alan Wolf is the judge, number 2 here it says. But yeah, this episode was really good, and I really enjoyed the characters, the actors, and the plot. And John Meese was a really great actor in it. I don't recall having seen him in something else, but he really did a good performance. He gave a good performance, rather. But yeah, this episode was pretty good. And another thing I like about the show is usually it begins with the dream sequence, then Allison wakes up, and there's some kind of comic line between her and Joe. And it begins from the first episode, I forgot to mention, but basically they would say something funny. He would say something funny to his wife, and then the opening credits would begin. I really like that because it starts really scary, and then there's the comic relief. That's how the show usually operates. A lot of scare, but also some fun as well, some humor here and there. So if I were to rate this episode on a scale from 1 to 10, I'd probably give it maybe another 8 out of 10. I'm not really sure. 8 out of 10, yeah. 8 out of 10 for this episode. It's another good episode. It has like I said, a very well thought plot, that is really scary and terrifying even. So again, the show is not for the faint of heart, those who don't like seeing blood and things like that of that nature, because the show has a lot of gore in it, a lot of graphicness, a lot of graphic things. So I wouldn't recommend it, as like I said, for anybody, below the age of 16, which is what I believe if you look for, reviews, this is usually the age that is recommended to watch, to start watching at that age, 16, not younger than that, because it can really be scary. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for me for this episode. It's another great episode, and it really builds up the whole kind of, show, right? And how the show is going to be like. So 8 out of 10 sounds like a good rating for this episode. So I would give it another 8 out of 10. What about you folks? What did you think about this episode? Suspicions and certainties. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comment section down below, please, folks. I would really like to hear about it. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next review, God willing, for another episode. In the meantime, folks, stay safe, goodbye, and take care. This is the World of TV Shows for You signing off.